You're listening to Zoom the TBT with Charge and Hayner.
This is Zoom the TBT of Charge and Hayner. Charge, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. How you doing today, Hayner? Down in Vegas, huh?
I know. I went ahead and did it. So we have live quasi coverage, we'll say, from Las Vegas for the mercenary bracket. We missed the first two games because we were doing Seton Hall and Syracuse, which we'll talk about in a minute. But we are here through the semifinals. We will be missing the final. We're going to go back home and live our lives a bit. Charge, you're obviously from the Charge Cave in Indy still, correct?
Yes. I did hit Louisville, though, so we'll talk about that in a little bit. So I did get some live TBT action in, but yeah, mostly from home this year.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's start with vibes because we're going to play it loose today because we're a little less prepared due to the condensed nature of the tournament this year. So you got to go to, I believe, one game. It was at the Ville. So tell me about how you felt the vibe of Louisville was this year.
Yeah, no, the vibe's great, and not just kind of the in-person vibe, but I thought in whole, especially these major alumni matchups online, the vibe has been good. A lot of trash talk, a lot of banter, but yeah, I mean, it was a very full arena there at Freedom Hall, and it was loud, it was fun. Obviously, Louisville ended up taking that game, which added to the experience. But yeah, it just wasn't sure what to get from the TBT. From a vibe this year and the new format, but it's, to be honest, exceeded my expectations of what we're going to get from a shortened format, shortened number of teams, and it's been fantastic. Especially those alumni arenas hosting those games.
Yeah, it's funny because I like a bigger TBT. We talked about this, but like I have come around on the format a bit. I've talked to a lot of the teams, and it seems like a lot of teams are actually okay with playing extra games, being a little smaller. So I've come around on the whole concept of a smaller TBT. I still hope it grows. I remember when Dan was on the podcast, I thought of it being still a little bigger than this. So I think this ends up still as a 24-32 type thing. But I don't know if we need to go back to 64 at this point. I think the 3-game series provides the every home court game for the fans. It provides a better collegiate experience. I think it's actually been overall an interesting gambit, which I've kind of come around on, to be honest with you. So I think that's been good. The vibes in Louisville have been good. It gives every home team a chance to get their teams against a rival for one game. Yeah, so that was cool. Did you so anyway, you saw the one that was a win. One thing that's been a recurring theme is the home teams have generally won games in this tournament.
Yeah. I didn't kind of run up the numbers, but at the beginning, that was definitely the case. With the exception of, it looks like Purple Rain, which had the two home games. The folks who were on tap to host the two, didn't go 3 games in every case, advanced into the bracket. So they did have that advantage and probably confidence going into gameplay.
Yeah, I was at one of the new ones. We went ahead and did Walsh Gym for the Seton Hall alums, and it's around $2,000. A little, I think I want to say it's like 1,700 maybe. I got to see that game, and the vibe, even though despite a very not close game, was an extremely good atmosphere, and I think a worthy addition to the TBT sort of cycle. So I think that's definitely a team that if Zaya Whitehead wants to come back, they might be able to get back into it next year. I'm assuming they'll also charge. We missed some of these teams like what do you call it? Heard that, Best Virginia, Shell Shock. So I assume talking to Dan, somebody seems to get back in. So this seems like a sort of an appetizer for a larger TBT next season. Would you agree that that's kind of the concept here?
Yeah, and I mean, and you see it online too. The folks who are clamoring for the teams, there's just so many logistics. You got to find the right teams, the right host, the back end. I think that's one of the stories of the TBT this year is how hard it is to field a team. Even these alumni teams, they've got a pretty big pool of alumni, but there's so many different things that go into it. But it's been a big challenge on the alumni side. You're not seeing that on the non-alumni side this year because they're not restricted by player counts and people who have played in the TBT before, consolidated teams. And so this alumni bracket, hats off to all the GMs. I mean, that's been probably one of the biggest negative pieces of TBT are rosters, non-alumni players, but these GMs are putting hours and hours and hours of work into this to make things happen, and you don't have full control over some of that. So I think there's still some roster pieces that TBT needs to help figure out and make that a little more appetizing for some of the alumni teams.
Yeah, it makes sense. You mentioned the sort of the computing of a team or making a team. I think it's a good time to bring up a graphic you've made, which I find really interesting because usually I'm a graphics team, but this is a really nice one here. So let's talk a little bit about this. So, Charge, why don't you walk us through what this basically is, first of all?
Yeah, no, I don't have a dog in the fight. I think the Louisville fans think I was all pro Kentucky, all non-alumni. I do enjoy a great true alumni team, but this graphic is basically, as we know, each team can have 4 non-alumni players, and so this graphic is just showing by percentage which alumni teams gave the most non-alumni minutes, and then to the right of that is just a percent of points or contribution, which levels up pretty closely, but you kind of saw the enchantment in La Familia leading the way there at 58% and 57%. So leaning very heavily on the non-alumni. And before Archie Goodwin came back, this La Familia team was well into the 60s. And then you kind of get something like DeVille, who, Russ Smith truly wanted to go with a non-alumni roster, the best that he could. But interestingly enough, on his Twitter, he said next year he's going to be hitting the portal. So, you definitely want to play to the alumni crowd in that vibe, but at the same time, you're competing for $2 million. You got to use yourselves within the rules and put in the best roster. And my last comment on that is just, the alumni team, if you're following the rules, it's what the alumni fan base allows. So if they're going to come out and support either way, La Familia, just embraced the non-alumni players, people on DeVille, even though they didn't use much. Once Alex, what was his name? I'm losing my train of thought. The guy with the dunk.
The guy with the monster dunk.
Yeah. Those folks who were criticizing La Familia in game 1 went crazy in game 2 with some of that dunk action. So yeah, it's interesting. But if the fan base supports you, then that's a good, strong alumni team.
I will say it's interesting looking at this, and I really thanks for this graphics. It's really interesting. One thing that sticks out to me is the top 4. Enchantment's even higher because I believe you're counting the New Mexico State alums as not alums because it's technically a New Mexico team, correct?
Yeah, I don't have the New Mexico State in here. They never came out and said they were getting some grace for New Mexico State. Yeah, if this was truly a 2-team New Mexico State, that goes down a lot more. So I held the line that if it's a New Mexico player, then that's an alumni. But this really is a blended team, and based on some of their roster restrictions, I think you had to show them some grace to show up, play on the road all 3 games is what they were committed to, and so they had some tougher situations. But that is the case.
So it's interesting looking at this too. I think one thing that's telling is taking out the enchantment because of the 3 road games, because of the fact that the reason it's so high is because of the New Mexico State teams. Taking them out of the equation, the next 3 teams all won, meaning that the true alumni teams, the ones that sort of played more in the spirit of this, were the ones, with the exception of JXX, that got sort of almost punished for their ethos, basically. This also comes up. This also blends into the thing about talking about these roster moves is sort of the thinness and depth of rosters, because all the alumni rosters are way thinner than the mercenary rosters. Is that you're finding too? Because we're talking already to sort of dovetail instances like Boeheim's Army has a roster crunch. Your fact that you want to talk about one specific roster crunch, I believe.
Yeah, the Boeheim's Army roster crunch is an interesting one right now, and it's not a rabbit hole I thought I would be going down, but just once again points to how tough it is for a guy like Sean Belby to field a team. So you got Eric Devendorf injured, and so they lost him, and so I would assume they only have 6, maybe 7 active players. But the interesting thing is, Ja'Cory Williams and Chris McCullough coincidentally are both tied up right now with a Puerto Rican team, the Bayamon Vaqueros. So Chris McCullough is rostered with that team, and he's got to serve a 1-game suspension before they can make a move. But they had Ja'Cory Williams in the background ready to take a spot. The rumor was Chris McCullough was going to get waived, by that team. Ja'Cory was taking his place. But the trouble for Boeheim's is they're in limbo. So it sounds like both of them are sitting in Puerto Rico. Corey was at the facility, and it's just kind of a tough situation. So Boeheim's is looking tough. But the good news, hopefully on the official report, Ja'Cory Williams is the one listed as questionable. Chris McCullough is out, so hopefully they can get Ja'Cory back for tomorrow. But they do have Wes Johnson back, so that's going to help boost them. But it's just kind of an interesting game within the game. Puerto Rico always kind of plays their playoffs as TBT is embarking, and so some of those players are always a little iffy based on how far they go, but this was kind of a real unique one that played out.
So let's talk about that too, because so we're moving on a little bit about what's happening here and trying to sort of get an idea of this. So really quick, wiping it down. La Familia goes 2-1 against Bill. They had home court. That last game was pretty tight. Bayham's Army 2-0. Surprisingly, I was at both games. This atmosphere at the On Center in Syracuse was really solid, but they were able to. Seton Hall came to play a little bit harder, so it was a sweep, but it was almost a gentleman's sweep because Bayham's Army did face a really stiff test from Holland in that second game. Surprisingly, Enchantment got off the mat by winning that second game after a 30-something point blowout in the first game. But Aftershocks, the quality did show in the last game, and they were able sort of to take a close game in the third one, get through the Elam. And then, of course, JXX Hoops. That was the one true upset. They went ahead and actually walked into Manhattan and knocked out Purple Rain in a really close game. So on a scale of 1 to 10, Charge, how disappointed do you think that TBT is to not have Michael Beasley anymore in the tournament?
I don't think they're disappointed at all. I mean, it is a good draw for that matchup, X Hoops and Purple Rain. So it's a good story locally. It's good to have a unique bigger name player played in the TBT. But I mean, now you're going to have a great matchup between Kansas and the Aftershocks. The Aftershocks has always hosted and drawn a big crowd. So yeah, I don't think they're too worried about a single player versus having the good matchups, the right matchups. And I think the JHX Hoops is definitely a little more wider appeal, stronger fan base in whole, playing the Aftershocks. I think that's going to be a winning formula for them. So they'll fill that arena, and it's going to be a great vibe.
Definitely. I think what's interesting about this too is so we can announce that. I'm not sure if TBT's announced this. We've had enough people confirm this. So they obviously are ranking the alumni venues on the case of where they go if in case we get to that final game over here, that alumni champion versus the mercenary champion. And it is ranked. Aftershocks are going to be home until they lose, then La Familia, then JXX Hoops, and then finally Bayheims is the last of the four. So one of those teams will be hosting, but the order is, to my understanding, again, this may be announced differently at some point. It's Shocks, Familia, JXX, and Bayheim's Army, which means that basically Bayheim's Army, even though I think they might be the most talented team in this field, despite their depth issues, will have to road warrior 2 more games to get back to Syracuse to face the champion. So also thinking about this too.
Yeah, just real quick on that. Yeah, TBT
Yeah,
did publish that. It's actually La Familia would host. So if La Familia beats Bayheim, yeah, then Aftershocks, Kansas, and then Bayheim's Army obviously won't host anything as they're on the ranking, but obviously they're last, so they're going to travel regardless.
Interesting. So see, I got that wrong. I figured it'd be Aftershocks because of this.
Yeah, no, it's from the TBT social account. So if it's inaccurate, then it's inaccurate on their official channels. So, but yeah, La Familia, Aftershocks, Kansas Bayheims.
There we go. Well, they have no reason to lie, obviously, about their own event. Okay, so let's talk a little bit. You want to know about the individual matchups? Let's get into this a little bit. So let's start with. Do you want to start with La Familia, Bayheim's Army?
Yeah, I mean, we can start there, absolutely. Yeah, this one here, I picked Bayheim's Army to go to the finals all along, so I'm going to continue to ride with those guys. La Familia did get the really big boost getting Archie Goodwin back, which was kind of the other kind of story in the story. My Bayheim's one is the whole Ja'Cory Chris, but this Archie Goodwin situation was wild and players calling out players, and but Archie did show up for Game 3, so they got a really big boost there. But they're going to struggle with some size. Willie Cauley-Stein's been hurt, having a good rest period now. And then Bayheim's, I think, as long as Wes Johnson shows up, they come with a full squad. And they've been just getting really balanced in scoring, even without Buddy Bayheim really going off yet. Cole Swider leading the way, a couple of their
Tyson Walker. Just say KO.
KO was easier. Elijah Hughes, Buddy Bayheim. So they're getting some good production from all their spots. And so as long as they don't get too thin and don't have a bench, I think Bayheim's continues to do well and move on and into tourney. Obviously home court advantage may come into play, but we'll see if they get Ja'Cory back. Then I think that's definitely tipping them over the edge and will be the spark that they need.
So I think I talking about this matchup. I'm fascinated by it. So I think this matchup. I think the eventual champion's coming out of this game. I think whoever wins that game will win the next game. I do think what's interesting about this though is, for me, the biggest story is how does La Familia cover the emergingly interesting vertical threat of KO? Because at Summer League, he was dunking everything to the point of like one person attached to a team was concerned that maybe he was going to get too big for TBT. Honestly, he was looking almost too good for that. Um, but I think because he's so long and so quick, does Willie Cauley Stein play bigger minutes because he's so long? Does he have the quickness to stay in front of him? Can he leap at the rim with him still? Do you put coffee on him and try to bang him a bit, but then you're sort of taking away him off Swider? Like, how do you basically keep the lob threat with those electric guards in Walker and Nichols from getting in the lane and throwing quality lobs up for KO? Like, how do you stop that vertical threat? And how do you stop that vertical threat by staying at home on Hughes, Boeheim, and Walker on the perimeter, and on them just can open jumpers? It seems like a kind of a Faustian bargain you have to make. You have to basically pick a poison. So, like, is Familia built to stop that sort of inside out offense from Boeheim's? I'm thinking no.
Yeah, I mean, shot at the beginning of that Seton Hall game. I mean, they were just having their way, and that was exactly what it is. Getting him inside, getting those lobs. I think his first 5 or 6 buckets were all dunks, and they made it look really easy. So obviously, La Familia will adjust and try to get the right personnel there. We don't know if they have any reinforcements coming, but with their existing team and Carly Stein being slowed, it's going to be a tough matchup.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, of course, the biggest thing, obviously, though, is the crowd plays a role, and that's a very difficult place to play in Kentucky. So I think Boeheim's Army to me is clearly a better team. That's no disrespect to Familia. They have Goodwin. They've got some really good scoring. So like, it's not saying they can't play. They can definitely play with Harrison and Goodwin in the backcourt. But I think like Boeheim's is on a different level, provided the depth isn't a problem, provided they can get past the crowd. The crowd's the bigger thing for me. Chris Coffey, being a veteran in TBT, sideline beat DeVille last year, and now he beat DeVille as part of Kentucky as one of the transfer portal players. So you start to wonder if Chris Coffey has a problem with Louisville as a city or something, But he's been
Yeah,
one of the
yeah,
bigger
taking it
ads of
personally.
the
Yeah, so it'd be
runner-ups.
interesting to see this next game against Boeheim because obviously he's very tough-minded, physical, good defensively, but he kind of took a little bit of a backseat once Archie Goodwin came back. So it'd be interesting to see if it was just a matchup play and what they liked against DeVille. But yeah, obviously I think he plays a bigger role trying to contain some of that athleticism on the Boeheim side.
One other story coming out of this is that it looks like Marcus Lee's not going to play as well at center for Kentucky. He's out, which is one more less body to
Yeah, he
throw
hasn't
at
played all
KO.
along, so yeah, so at least they're used to not having him in the mix, and they can plan around
Yeah,
that. But yeah, but I mean, just
yeah.
that's what we've been talking about. The personnel this year has been really, really a challenge on the alumni teams.
Oh, let's get into the next matchup, which is obviously talking a little bit about the matchup with JSS versus Aftershocks. So the Aftershocks, to me, seem to be kind of living dangerously. They won that first game convincingly. They lost the second under a barrage of threes by New Mexico, and then they kind of lived dangerous into the last one. Did you watch the end of that game?
Yeah, yeah, no, I watched both of those 2 games where they made the comeback. But yeah, so that was the interesting thing is after that blowout, I don't think anyone gave Enchantment a chance at all, and for them to kind of
Including me.
step
Let's
up.
be very honest here.
Say that again. I missed you.
Oh, sorry. No, I'm saying that. No, I was saying that like I watched that game. It's only living dangerous. I sorry, I lost the feed a little bit.
Yeah.
But you were saying that like that game, so that was pretty close to the very end. So they were able to sort of compose themselves and come away with that win.
Yeah. And then where you really leaned on what's the good luxury you have for Aftershocks is they've had Marcus Keene, who's been doing this forever in the TBT. QJ Peterson's been doing this forever, and QJ Peterson was the one that kind of stepped up and saved the day yesterday. So and this is one of the squads that they're relying heavily on there. they're not alumni players. Their top three scorers are all, Marcus Santos Silva, Keena Peterson, and so yeah, those are great pickups serving a specific purpose in a role with that squad. And so without those guys kind of bailing them out, you could have seen one of the bigger upsets in TBT. But Enchantment just played really well. They were impressive for being as shorthanded as they were.
Yeah, especially considering the fact that they just got blown out that first game. At what point does Marcus Keene become an honorary shocker, by the way? At what point does that happen?
I don't know. I'm assuming they win. He keeps going back, but it's funny going back to the whole non-alumni thing. I saw someone in Kentucky Twitter the other day saying they need to get Marcus Keene next year, and so who knows? Who knows? He kind of goes where the action's at. But yeah, he's definitely filling the role there. But if they continue to win, yeah, no reason not to make him an honorary alumni and make that happen.
Seems like Aftershocks, too, getting a lot from Mayo, getting a lot from Frank Mason. So that's been a really good scoring punch for them. What do you think their odds are walking into the Aftershocks building and knocking off the defending champs?
I mean, I feel like it's low, but I'm going to say it's not. I mean, I don't know how they escaped those two games against Purple Rain. So Purple Rain, had their way in game one. And then they Purple Rain had game two. They had game three. I mean, they just folded, So Frank Mason, obviously, he's been kind of hot or cold on the offensive side, but hitting the big shot when he has to. That's what you want your star player to do. But, the supporting cast is Zeke Mayo, Billy Preston, Jacob Hanna, and they're getting pretty even distribution. I just think the talent side on the Aftershocks is a little deeper if they're all playing up to their potential. Corey Washington had that really big game for Aftershocks in game one. Aftershocks that have the home crowd, but I got to give the edge to Aftershocks just because JHX has been very, very inconsistent in the TBT so far. Scraping out wins, but that's all it takes. It's not win or go home. Obviously, that first game or they'd be gone. So they were definitely loving the new format with 2 out of 3, and the fans were as well.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I think in both cases the crowd's going to play a role because these are seasoned vets, but because these are real crowds, 7,000, 8,000, sort of the availability you have at these stadiums. I think the crowd could be a real role here. I think the Aftershocks are probably a better squad than JXX, and also I think that basically they'll have the crowd too. So I think we both agree Aftershocks should play a walk out of there, right?
Yeah, I think they do. I think you're going to see the roster kind of non-alumni side take over. I think you'll see a lot more Keena Peterson on the offensive, and I think there'll be just the depth in the home will propel them up to the finals of the alumni bracket.
Yeah, and then I guess we'll submit another pick. So we're both picking Aftershocks. Who do you have in Familia versus Bayheims?
Yeah, now I'm going to lock into Bayheims. I think, as the reports are Wes Johnson's active. They needed a little depth, and so I think that's going to be enough. Hopefully, you see a Buddy Bayheim breakout game. He got streaky and took over towards the tail end of that last game against Hall Lynn, but he hasn't been super consistent either. So I think maybe this is the game where he kind of takes over. But they're good 5 solid starters, and if they just get a little bit of bench support, they'll get over the edge. If for some reason Wes Johnson doesn't make it, Ja'Cory doesn't make it, then I would have to give the tilt to Hoops, wrong one. We're going to La Familia that game. Then the tilt goes there. But if they get that one player to support, then Bayheims wins it.
Yeah, I think if they get anything out of Wes and or Ja'Cory, I think I agree with you. But I think it's going to be really tough because I think in the Aftershocks case, they're the better team and they have the crowd. I think Bayheim's I think it is the better team than La Familia, but they don't have the crowd, and the crowd does matter a lot in TBT. So I do think that could be a really tough game. Okay, so we'll do another preview before the alumni final. So we'll talk again about the actual final. See how we got it right. Let's talk about the Mercs. You want to talk Vegas, baby?
Yeah, you're down there, so we'll get your feel for the venue, which is kind of cool. They did get some fans in there, but yeah, I think this particular group play, which originally when it was going to be the 8 teams was going to be you pick your opponent, which is an interesting concept that I like. But I think the pool play would have worked out a lot better than just some random mercenary teams playing each other 2 out of 3, because it's not a rival. I mean, they're just high level pros. So I really like the pool play over here. But the talent in the games have not disappointed. All these games have come down, pretty much almost to the wire. Except for one, we had a blowout. But I think that's the story here. Is I still think anyone can win this. The K Crew, ended up beating Gotham City. Maybe they took the K Crew lightly and they stayed out late in Vegas, didn't go to sleep. I don't know. But yeah, that was I think one of the more shocking upsets in TBT history. Right there, being pool played and have the same impact that they sent Gotham City home. But when you look at those 5, though, Gotham City, Mecca, of course, led by Casper Ware, Davis Steele, Red Rose, Heartfire. Either one of those teams can win the tournament, and there's a lot of ball still to be played here, and it's intriguing. They're coming right down to next shot wins and just very close games in almost every one of these.
Yeah, with the minor exception. It's funny. A little bit about the vibe. So I did for my end of the coverage, I did the Seton Hall, Syracuse, and then I had a couple drinks with TBT people at Al's Whiskey in downtown Syracuse, and then I left there around 1:30 in the morning for my 7:30 flight to get to Las Vegas, and went straight to the games basically. So the vibe at the M Resort. First of all, the M Resort's first class place. You go there. It's off strip. I'm staying on the strip because if you're going to Vegas, there's no point not to. But it's about a 20-minute drive from the strip down to Henderson, and it's a beautiful venue. It's gorgeous, great casino, great place. There's the little pavilion hut in the back. It's like a Quonset hut, and TBT has made a first-class soundstage for this. The seating is on the floor. Basically, everybody's got courtside seating. So there's only about 200 people there, but it's curated crowd, really fun. They have like VIP booths for the teams to watch, like couches, to watch the games from the from relative comfort. It's a very very good venue. The games. I'm going to watch the last 2 of pool play. Very competitive games. Besides the second one, which the K Crew did not they just weren't good enough. They actually played hard. They just didn't really have the horses to face Davis Steele and or Everline Drive in a matchup. But the vibe's been pretty good. So Charge, vibes notwithstanding, most of these teams still have a chance. I mean, let's not talk about the venue too much. Talk about the teams. The Mecca, which I saw yesterday, Casper Ware is incredible still. They have a lot of size, a lot of ability to bang. They play really hard, really physical. And of course, Hardfire is a known quantity. War Ready and Red Rose, I was actually at their practice this morning, watching them work on sideline out of bounds and baseline out of bounds. So that was pretty interesting. They had a pretty good practice, pretty lively on the court. So we've got like a bunch of teams that can win. So Charge, look at this first matchup, the Mecca, which has your boy Casper Ware versus the K Crew. Do you see that one being hyper competitive, or do you see Casper kind of putting them down?
No, I think I think the Mecca's going to go at them. I mean, this is kind of, win or go home. So the true TBT single elimination. So I just really think they'll step up their game. They played, phenomenal in pool play, looked great. Ended up in that kind of tough bracket. That was a highly competitive bracket when you got the Mecca, Heartfire, Red Rose out there. All ended up 1-1. So I think they'll go out there, kind of fine tune things. But I think they truly run away with the matchup against the K Crew. Like I said, but it's been fun watching the K Crew. Everyone roots for the underdogs, team that you don't think are gonna. Mm-hmm. Step up and challenge, and pull that big upset, and they put the team in a week before. They didn't even know they were going to be in the TBT, to be ready and put up a team that pulled off that upset's great. But yeah, I think the Mecca's going to take care of business in this one for sure.
Yeah, I think I was really kind of impressed with their moxie and what they ran. They ran good stuff. In fact, honestly, the game against Davis was less about them not being good, more that Davis is just that good. I mean, Davis Eberline is an incredible team. So it wasn't that they were bad, it's that Davis was that good. So that's kind of what happens. And the shots just didn't fall. Like they had a lot of good looks, actually. They just couldn't cash any of them in. So it's one of those things where facing a wave of Gabe York and dealing with that. And then you're also trying to figure out how to, get your own shots up. So they just weren't able to quite do it. So I think that'll probably be the Mecca. They played incredibly hard. It was one thing of watching them that close is seeing how they got after it, how they were really committed to like standing their ground on defense. Like I was really impressed with them. It's the first time I've seen your boy Casper Ware live. In fact, I've actually never seen the Cheaters as a live team before. So, Mecca has a lot of the Cheaters DNA from the Drew League. So that was pretty fun. I think the Mecca wins there fairly convincingly to get a rubber match against Heartfire on Tuesday. Gotham City Red Rose is a little more intriguing. What do you see there? I mean, obviously the story of Gotham, that's Dakari Tucker, right?
Yeah. So I mean, Dakari Tucker, Javon Freeman, Liberty, kind of leading the way there, and then Red Rose. I think this is their game to lose. I think they had what they needed to do against Mecca, and just ended up not making the right adjustments towards the end of that game, and Mecca got away with it. But I think when you're looking at Wendell Green, Cumberland, Lane, Brandon Robinson, Harar, I mean, you guys got like Dominique Jones coming in, off the bench. I mean, they just have a good, solid, deep team here. Gotham City, I think, is going to be solid. It's going to be a close game, but I think Red Rose, if they've kind of had that great practice today, which you talked about, and fine-tune the little things, I think they can get out, go for the juggler a little earlier and not have to kind of play it a close one. But they've got a great squad, and I think they're going to have enough to move past and go see Davis Steele in the non-alumni final.
Yeah, I'm going to back you up on it. I'm going to back you up on all of that. I think Gotham's really good. I think they're a really high quality squad. This will be a very competitive game on Monday. Having said that, though, I do think that it is the Red Roses War Ready's game to lose. The two teams are blending well. I talked to both the co-GMs, Lucas Morrison and Matt Michella, about like how they're meshing the two team bases together. Also, DRC is in the house. NFL legend is there watching the games, which is incredible. It's so fun to watch somebody of that stature just do this for fun. So I think Red Rose War Ready will probably have a pretty big role in deciding if they can win that. I think they're going to get through that, setting up a really, really, really great match with Davis Steele. So, Charles, we got the pick. We actually agreed on everything, didn't we? That's not a good sign, is it?
Yeah. So everyone we pick the
that
same.
Never happens.
Is the other team's going to win. So congratulations, Gotham City, K Crew, you're advancing.
Yeah. If we both pick it, it means we're completely wrong at all points.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Hey, here we go. Hang on, we got a VS here. Keep doubting the Knuppel Crew will be fine. All right. Well, I mean, look, I like what they ran. I thought they played really hard, but I mean, they lost by all the points yesterday. So, I mean, let's see. It's one game. So I will say this. Basketball, and people know this, is a high variance sport. So the shots don't fall.
I guess that's the thing. That's why
good teams lose by 1,000,000 points. It happens.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, Forte was fantastic. McGlynn, we've seen playing in the TBT before, so they're not complete unknowns. They got hot shooting, chucking up those threes, live or die by them. But I think part of the K Crew is I'm not sure what team's going to show up. The team that pulled off the big upset, or but like I said, Davis Steele is the team to beat here. I think we all agree to that level, that they're a level up, they're a notch up, and so it's going to be a fascinating game nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, I think, and the thing was, the shots they missed against Davis, they were good looks. They just didn't fall. I mean, they were very cold. They got a lot of good actions off the ball to get guys open. They weren't just chucking shots. So they definitely can run something. So look, I do think they're going to lose, but like, they're a professional team, and high variance games, basketball is like a roll of dice because you can play really well and shots don't fall. That's just what happens. So the reality is like, yeah, we're doubting them, but I mean, we've been proven wrong on this podcast pretty much every week for 7 years. So, us being proven wrong would not be new, right, Charge?
Oh gosh, we've been wrong more than the average person. So yeah, you never know. Never know. I still remember doubting the aftershocks in the early days. Like, oh, there's no way Frank Camp and crew are gonna have anything in the tank, and it proved me wrong over and over again. So I'm good being wrong because trust me, I'd rather see the K Crew lose or beat the Mecca. I love the underdog story, and I love seeing chaos in the TBT. So I'd love to see it. So I'll be glad to be wrong in some of these cases.
I will say this too, is like my most famous case of being wrong on this is I had picked Heartfire to lose in the final. I think in the semi even, and when they were in one of the Philly finals. And I had told that privately to a friend of mine and got back to the assistant coach. The assistant coach told everybody on the team I had picked against him. And the players came up after and said, "Hey, thanks for the motivation." I'm like, "Oh, you weren't supposed to hear that." He goes, "We don't care. Thanks for that." Marcus Hall couldn't be nicer about it. He came up and said, "Hey, thanks, man." I'm like, "You're welcome, Marcus." But yeah, they won a title, and like more than a couple of them said, "Yeah, we proved you wrong." I'm like, I'm pretty easy to prove wrong. Okay, so Charge, let's button this up. Okay, so we're picking, and we both have the same picks: Boeheim, Shocks, Mecca, and Red Rose War Ready. Is that the picks?
Those are the picks. Absolutely.
Okay, final thought.
I'm always going to
What's
hedge a
your
little
final
bit.
thought?
If Wes Johnson and or Ja'Cory don't show, I'm really worried about the depth, but I'm going to lock in.
I'm gonna say I'm not gonna give you the Wes Johnson things because they have enough strength in the wing, so I'm not gonna give you that. But I will say if Ja'Cory doesn't show up, they're starting to get a little thin up front, so that could present
I'm
a
trying
problem.
to see how many players they
game.
ran without Devendorf. Have they?
Well, they've had
I think
8.
they're down to
They've had
6
8. They've had 8. Well, no, so they've run 8 most of these
Oh,
games.
no, you know
And
who we keep forgetting, which is kind of crazy after last year,
Jimmy.
is Ty Nichols just really hasn't played a big role for. Yeah, so now they're good. They got their top 5 guys. You throw Ty Nichols in there. So, yes, obviously he continues to see a little bigger of a role. Jimmy Boeheim I knew about, but yeah, so they'll have 6, Jimmy 7, and then Wes Ja'Cory gets them to 8 if one of those two shows up. So, but yeah, Ty Nichols after last year, I can't believe I forgot all about him coming off the bench there.
Yeah, so Nichols hasn't played a huge role yet, but having a 40-point a game, guy who go for 40 in the game is a huge luxury to come off the bench. So I'm not worried about their wing depth because they can play Nichols or Walker on the ball, and that lets them play both Boeheims, Elijah, Hughes on the wings. It's more a question, and also Swider can play a little bit of wing and a little bit of 4. So you're really more worried about who is going to play with KO up front. Because if you have to play Swider at the 5, then they got away with it playing small with Swider at the 5, or even having Jimmy Boeheim play a little bit of micro 5, it seemed like at times. But they're not going to be able to do that against Lafayette. So they do really need Ja'Cory there. I think that's going to really be key to them winning. Okay, Charge, final thought.
Final thought, man, TBT's been excellent this year. Like I said at the beginning, exceeded my expectations. These games are going well. And so now that we're on win or go home, it adds that extra element of excitement and drama to the games. And so far so good. 3 out of the 4 alumni games went 3 games. I think everything's scripted out nicely for where TBT would have liked to have it. I think the fans are having a good time. Despite some of the Twitter comments, if you've shown up at any of these alumni games, the fans have been incredible behind their team, supporting the teams. These games in Vegas have been just top notch, professional talent. So I think, for what it is this year, I think home run. I think I can't wait to see some more basketball tomorrow.
Okay. Charge, we're going to figure out a way to do one more preview for the next round. We'll figure out privately. Thanks as always for being a great partner on our sort of abbreviated season. And this has been a lot of fun. This has been a really great TBT. It's a little smaller and a little more ad hoc, but the vibes have been pretty solid. Charge, thanks as always, man.
All right. Have a good one, buddy. Take care. Enjoy Vegas. Don't get in too much trouble tonight.
I just took a nap. I'll be fine. Okay, guys, it's been ZoomTheTBT, and we, as always, are signing off.
Hope you enjoyed listening to Zoom the TBT with Charge and Hayner. Subscribe to YouTube, follow on Twitter, and give us your money.